Welcome to Collaborate Ultra, a real-time video conferencing tool in which you can add files, share applications, and use a virtual whiteboard to interact with your colleagues. To create your session, navigate to the Blackboard Collaborate Ultra item on the Blackboard sidebar. To create a new session, click on Create Session. Name your session and check that it's set up the way that you want it to be. Here is where you can find a guest link that you can send to anybody so that they can join the Collaborate session from wherever they are. This is where you enter in the event details, the start time and the end time. You can leave it open, but if you want this session to be recorded and be able to be downloaded, then don't check this option. It's recommended that you allow people early entry so that they can have a look at any of the files that you've uploaded, so that they can check their microphones, and they make sure they can get into session with no problem so that you can start on time. Before the event begins, it's recommended that you get into the session early. And make sure that everything is set up to your liking. As the operator of the session, you're going to be using the Collaborate Ultra panel quite a lot, which is accessed with this little pink arrow down here. So open the Collaborate panel, and we'll start with your settings. This is where you can add your picture, upload a file from your computer. You can set up your camera and your microphone. You can choose how you want to be notified, if people are arriving and leaving, if anybody chats, if there's closed captioning available, if anybody puts their hands up. There's a lot of options here in session settings too. If you've got a small group, you might want all of your participants to be able to share audio and video, post chat messages, and draw on the whiteboard and files. If you've got a much larger group, you might not want to allow some of these things. Before the session's about to start, you want to make sure that you've uploaded any files that you want to use. You can share files by adding files using this box. Collaborate Ultra can cope with PDF files, PowerPoint files, or image files. It's generally recommended, if you're using PowerPoint files, to instead of adding them as a file, share them as content, which we'll come to in a minute. When you're ready to go with your session, make sure that the microphone and the video are turned on. Collaborate will test them for you when you first open the session, but then they'll helpfully turn them back off again, just so that you don't record yourself coughing or doing anything unspeakable. So you want to make sure that your audio is on, and if you're using it, your video is on. Hello. Then when you're ready to go, you can start your session. A lot of the time you might be using a PowerPoint presentation, and you do this by sharing application or screen, and this is the way that you can share anything that you've got open on your PC. We'll share this PowerPoint. About insects. You might want to have a traditional PowerPoint session where you just talk through some slides, but there are some options in Collaborate to add interactivity, such as polling. In this slide I've set up some options for the audience to participate in. All you need to do is click on polling, and what I've done here is set up something that's got 5 particular choices, so I choose 5 choices. I start the poll, and that will appear on all of your participants' computers or phones or whatever they're using, and they can log their answers to that poll. It's a great way to add interactivity and increase engagement in your material. Close that. If any of your participants wants to attract your attention, they can raise their hand. You'll get a notification if they do that. You can address their concerns in your lecture, or you can have a chat with them. You can also share a whiteboard, which is a blank space in which you and your participants can write, can draw, can add text, to give you a visual aid to your discussion. You've also got a chat option with everybody. Again, if you've got a large group, you might want to have somebody else monitoring the chat. So if your students are asking questions via the chat, then they can alert you rather than you have to break the flow of your lecture. There's also an option to allow collaboration in your lectures for breakout groups. You can allocate people to groups, or they can allocate themselves to groups. If you do have breakout groups where people chat about things or they share their ideas and they come back, this is not included in any recordings, so that's something to be aware of. So those are all of the basic options in Collaborate. Once you finish your session, make sure that everybody logs out of the session, and that's up in this corner here. Leave session. Because it's not until everybody's left the session that the recording will complete. And you have created your first Collaborate session.